Hello everyone and welcome to the Multiplier Event of our Vega project. I feel very honored, grateful and proud to be able to welcome you here to this event where we will present the outcome of our project. My name is Annette Järpe and I represent Smesbøle School in Korsholm. I welcome not only all of you who is sitting here in the audience in the Culture House of Korsholm, but also you who attend this event online from several places in Europe, from Cyprus in the south, Austria, Germany, to participants in the north from the Vasa area on the west coast of Finland. I am the main project coordinator of Vega, but I couldn't have done this without the great support I have got from my second coordinator and right hand, Lukas Potira from Wadowice in Poland. I can never thank you enough for the tremendous support you have given me and the partners, or for the work you have done to row this project ashore. I also want to take this opportunity to thank my dream team, all of you great partners in the Vega project. I'm so proud of you all, and it has been a real pleasure working with you. You will all get the opportunity to present yourselves in a while. I also would like to thank the Head of Education in Korsholm, Denise Westerback, and the Director of Education, Linda Felixson, together with our school's headmaster, Lena Kjellholm Falund. You have all trusted in us and showed great support, both financially and mentally. Thank you. The story behind Vega is a story about wanting to contribute and achieve something that will benefit all students all over Europe. Our main goal has always been to develop the methods of teaching in such ways that it will motivate and interest the students through new digital methods to attain their best results within their capability. Smesbøle School, the team from Iceland, Dalvíkur Skóli, and the Center for Education in Wadowice, Poland, worked together from 2018 until 2020 in another Erasmus Plus project. That project, called Early, was about developing robot programming in schools, and our website with teaching scenarios and video tutorials became an award-winning project that attracted us to continue, extend, and explore the digital field in another new project together. We got curious and interested in game-based learning and VR. But as teachers, we always want to be sure that the new methods we bring into our teaching rely on a good pedagogical foundation. So we decided to start a research in this field before heading in the project proposal. So I went to Tampere to meet experts in this field to find out more. In Tampere, I met Santeri Koivisto and Mikael Uusimäkelä from Teacher Gaming, who you will soon be able to listen to when they give their keynote presentation. When I listened to their presentation about the pedagogy and methods behind game-based learning, I got really excited. This is exactly what we need to bring into our teaching. New methods that approach the students and their world, methods that motivate, visualize, and concretize the knowledge material in such a way that you achieve a better learning result in practice. We found a reason and an answer to why we wanted to choose game-based learning to work with in our new project. We searched for like-minded partners, and we were lucky to find an organization in Spain, Multiplier, that has a great knowledge in several digital fields. We also found a Synthesis Center in Cyprus that has a long experience in project management and school development. We were also lucky to get Teacher Gaming on board, together with their broad experience of game-based learning. Now we have the perfect mix of educators and digital experts, and together we started our Vega journey. The project started during bad pandemic times, and all of our first meetings and training were forced to be online. But as we all were determined to overcome all obstacles, we found out ways to do research, help each other, and ways to learn together as a team. We found creative ways to keep on track. During online meetings, we decided to do research on all devices, equipment, game developers, and games we could find on the market that could be valuable. After that, we developed during long pedagogical discussions, sometimes argued, our templates for the teaching scenarios. We all agreed on the need for them to be connected to the national curriculum. And this is how it looked one day, at the same time, in different kind of worlds. The first time we felt that we actually met for real, even if it only was in VR, was in the VR chat world. It was an exciting meeting when we were teleporting our avatars together in the metaverse. There in metaverse, we were connected and united, even if our physical bodies were separated and situated in Cyprus, Spain, Poland, Finland, and Iceland. For me, this was something extraordinary that I will never forget. It felt like I actually met my partners for real, even though it only was in metaverse. This wow feeling convinced all of us teachers that this is a feeling we want to offer to our students. This will for sure motivate them and develop their interest in the learning process. And then we started to work on our scenarios in English. Altogether, they are 60, actually 61. All teaching scenarios consist of several lessons, and all are connected to one or several school subjects or themes. They are developed for students from grade 5 all up to secondary and upper secondary level. All scenarios are translated into 6 languages. The scenarios have been tested in schools and in some cases improved afterward. We have evaluated the piloting occasionally with forms or with open verbal evaluations. We have been disseminating our project through different channels, both online and face-to-face. Our website with samples of our scenarios together with information of the project and partners has been up and running since December 21, I think. The last steps of our work has been the huge work of compiling our publication. The publication became much more expensive than we had planned for or promised for in our proposal. The result is nearly 700 pages long. Besides for the practical hands-on scenarios, we wanted to offer pedagogical foundations, explained together with the explanations of all digital concepts, and last but not least, practical advice on how you solve various technical challenges. Manuals that we as teachers had wanted to have when we struggled with our first steps in Metaverse. Now Lucas Potyra from Poland will continue presenting our website, where you will find all of our project results together with our publication. After that, all partners will take turns sharing glimpses and views of our work. And after that, Sandra and Mikael will give their presentation. I hope that you will enjoy the journey. Please.
Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Łukasz Kutyra. I came from Wadowice, from Poland, where I work for an educational foundation, Education Center Est, together with my colleagues, which you cannot meet here, but they are here behind me. And our foundation, our main goal is to support development of the educational processes of individuals in any age and of institutions, any type of institutions. And for this reason, because of those goals, we are here. We found ourselves together in a previous project with Annette and me, and we are here in Vega. And the reason why I'm here today is to show you very shortly the website where you can find the results of a Vega project. And about those results, you will hear more from our colleagues from the project. When Annette was telling about the story behind Vega, it helped me to come back to the past, and I realized that when we were drafting the project in the beginning of 2020, we were living in a completely different world, and a lot of things has changed since then. And even more, I'm happy to stand here in front of you to present something which I think is good and which brings something positive among us. And I hope you will share our opinion about it. So what you can see now is a website of the project. So yes, it's not only the case of the settings of computer. Also, the website is the website was developed some time ago, but it's hard. So on this website, besides the basic information about the project, like description of our partner group, and you can of course contact us, see what is happening in different social media, and but the main part of the website at the moment and since last weeks is this part, where you can find both the publication, which is the main result of the project, and for very specific reasons, which I explain in a moment, also the scenarios, as mentioned, in English and all our partner languages. So, if you are really interested in the result now, you should first check the English version and then try to find your national language versions, which will be appearing on the website in the next hours and days. So from the main website, you can go directly to the place when the publication is placed. Let me mention the 61 scenarios. So you can imagine that as the 61 scenarios, each of them should support more than one lesson, can be used in more than one school subject, in most of the cases. So it was directly causing and quite massive volume of the publication, which is I think now almost 700 pages, for making it easier to find the materials which are the most important for teachers. We divided it for two chapters, dividing two types of scenarios. based on two types of games and apps for teachers. The first type would be the games and apps which you can use on computers and tablets. And then the biggest innovation of the project is virtual reality. Yes, so the scenarios which are in the publication, they are divided into ways, but still it may be that you want to use that you want to get a direct access to the scenarios from the website, and for this reason we open also another possibility. Yeah. Connection. It is how the technical support make people closer. Like I was in a distance behind this big thing. Now we are more together. So let's see this in a positive way. And so shortly to show you how and if you can find the scenarios separately. You just click on one of the flags, which should bring you to either VR and AR-based scenarios or computer-based scenarios, and then you will find them all here. And you can see there are some of them. They are in various types. And what should be useful, especially for teachers, is the fact that you are able to filter the result, to filter the scenarios, and then only the specific ones will appear. And of course, when you click on the scenarios, it will appear here. You can download it. You can use it on the website, and you will see immediately how it is constructed. Is exactly as was mentioned before. We wanted to make something like multifunctional. So of course we start with the basic informations of what is the topic, what are the age and introduction for the scenarios, but then the teachers can get very specific instructions on how to use the game, how to run the lessons, when they can find support. Some of the scenarios are also supported by evaluation tools. So we do hope that they will be used by more and more teachers here in our and other American partner countries and maybe wider in the world. So, but to bring you closer to the experience which you can find with the double scenarios, I think I will pass voice and microphone to Gumi and Katla, which are the next. So, yes, thank you very much from my side.
Thank you, Luca.
Hello, my name is Guðni Sigríður Ólafsdóttir, and we come from Dalvík, Iceland, and I am the IT teacher in the school.
Yeah, my name is Katla, and I teach math, and I'm the head of the department in the school, the older one. I'm supposed to say something about myself, so I am a teacher, mother, friend, wife. Yeah.
Yes, we both are. We are nature lovers and teachers from the heart. I think we can say that. Both of us are. Okay, the participation in this Erasmus project gives us a lot of opportunities. For example, a chance to keep us on the toes in our teaching, which is really important for a small country school as Dalvík School is.
Yeah, and the working process in Vega have been not tough, but
but really giving. In addition to the possibilities on making our school more modern in working methods, has given us great friends in our co-workers.
That is one thing that not many people think about when talking about Erasmus. That's what gives the heart. It gives us a lot of friends, and we learn to, we manage to see other countries and meet good people. So this is all pluses with this.
Yeah, so this is our scenarios, and it touches a few subjects. For example, geographic, math, and social science. We use apps like National Geographic, Anne Frank House, and more. The scenarios fit students at the age of 11 till 17.
Okay, these were the VR and the GBL, the game-based learning. The computer games we use, you can see our GBL scenarios here. It's like the VR, so it touches various subjects in our curriculum, and they're all very teacher-friendly, we think, and they can be used for several age groups, as all the scenarios from 11 to 17-year-old. Yeah. And a few words about one of our teaching scenarios where we use the Wonder app. In this app, students are given a list of names of some major structures, of man-made structures in the world. They need to find about each item by searching for information online and filling out a form, name the landmark, etc. And we use the VR app. They have to take a photo of the structure they find, send it to the teachers, and they take turns using VR and working on a computer in this app. And it's also another app which is called Puzzle Places. It's really a relaxing app where students can puzzle some of the places they found in the project to be used after the list is finished. It gives more opportunities to travel in the world. They like it a lot, and in all these scenarios you find evaluation lists, both for self-evaluation and for a teacher, and we also have put in some of our scenarios more tools like Kahoot and more programs you can find and teacher use. So this, yes, they are really teacher-friendly. It almost says when to smile in some of them. And a few words from the students. They really liked it and they loved playing it. And they just, love the way of being able to learn like this. And they feel they really are learning, although they are having fun also. And that's new for many of them. Okay, I'm going too fast.
Yeah, so this is another one. This is about math. And in this scenario, students work in groups and learn calculate volume, area, surface of area, and draw in 3D in VR classes and design a sculpture of cartoon figure. And finally, they have to present their work to other students in a class. So yeah, students try out 3 games in VR: Cubist, Tetris, and Tiltbrush. And it's really fun to work with it.
Okay.
So most of the students agree on that using VR in classroom was more fun, but they don't have to use it in all lessons. Our bookworms, like we call the students who like the best work in the books, didn't find it as much fun. But it was not about the VR classes, it was about the whole project, to have to create something and make a cartoon, because they just want to be in the books.
Yeah, I think that's all from us. We would like to maybe use the opportunity for thank Lucas and Annette and all the others, great people, to just get to be a part of it and get to know you so good. Thank you.
Hey, sorry. Hey, Ala. My name is Cesar. We are from Spain. Blue High is the entity, is a non-profit making organization. We are working, normally we make extracurricular activities on the schools, even sometimes with some technology based on these kind of activities as a part of the curricula that. Our team is like a multidisciplinary team. That means that we have pedagogical, we are educator, even we have engineers, youth, elder, or more. It's just more is completed by ladies. That Charo Navarro is here, even the secretary was a woman, and the secretary and treasurer even. And we are very lucky with this kind of support that we have on that. I will just make an overview about the things that we was doing on the project. This is based on based learning gaming. We was able to work with languages comprehension, even with the natural science, just creating some awareness about the pollution, the footprint, and that kind of things that is very important for that. This is in the gaming way that is good on that. Even we was trying to make something with the ancient age, with the Babylon, with the Egypt. Even we was lucky to be in Cyprus to see Babylon and direct museum. Thanks to Maria on that. Okay. One of the other scenarios that we was working just with game-based and even with augmented reality was just working with mathematics in the way with Minecraft, even connected with 3D printer, even connected with Tinkercad. You can just speak about volume, speak about how many, what's the size of things, and even they print and they have the hand. What really is about that. That was very amazing on that way. All the kind of scenarios that we was working together with all the partners that we have, that was a lovely pleasure to work with all of them even. It was maybe for the nature, for the body related to the immunity attack, as you say, with COVID time, it was a great opportunity, started to be a lot of games, read about how the virus is working, how the virus is going on that. It was a really nice to test plug-in, it was supported by teacher training suggestion, very nice on that. And also for the beer. With the beer, it's like a wow effect that Ned said previously. Because let's say that everybody wants to be in another world. It's just the first time we meet all of us. I always see that when Lucas was explaining and Ned, I was a big smile because I remember the first meet with Lucas. If I was like a squirrel and Lucas was like a sensei. It was very funny later we face to face. Okay, you are not a sensei, I'm not a squirrel. It was very funny that, I mean, it's very special for kids even because you are speaking English and that's the relationship. That is, it's very nice, this kind of experience. Okay, just going back to our work on the project. What we were involving 4 schools around the region of Valencia where we are. And we was trying to work with the involving on the testing the scenarios to be real about what I'm trying to say, and it's good or not, it's real on that. Even it was good to prepare the lessons plan because it's one of the most important is just not is like a fiction teaching guide. Is you need to know how you want to evolve into your lesson class, and this is important to have that. And one of the best and the most is just the initiation. It's like the baptism about the technology. Something that you need to prove and later then, okay, I'm able to do that on this. Okay, then for just not be too much boring all of you, is I tried just to collect what is the steps that we find on the way to be sure that it's going well related on how to put on how to use the technology into the education on that. Then first to say something, the most is you need to be should have a motivation to change something about how it's going well, because you are really comfortable when you are teaching, and now it's just trying to put something new, and it's always not good. I mean, or not as that. And if you do that, then you are prepared to join. And if you are prepared to join, everybody starts around you to join indeed. Then, if you are ready for that, then go for the first. First is just to be comfortable with the environment, because it's something new. We are not native data students with the digital competencies. And first is just you need to pick up technology, play in home, in your free time, or just in some kind of time in the school. And then start to be comfortable with this. Because if you are comfortable with this, then you start to be comfortable with the facilities, and then you are starting to say, okay, I can do something with this. Okay, this will be the first step. Next should be, okay, let's go for a controlled environment. That means that you can choose 2-3 students where you know comfortable with they. Just start to play with they. The good issue is that they are your helper, they are your supervisors in the classroom, because they should be part of they working with this. Then you play with they, you learn with they, and you understand how to do that. They are digital natives, not art, and they are the big complement. They are part of that. It would be good. I mean, it's just what we feel on the way. And when you have this, then you are ready to go to the classroom for a real, while we don't know what happened in that. But all of you are teachers. I mean, you know better than me how to do that, because you do it day by day. Then you need to prepare a plan A, B, and C, because you never know what happened on that. And be sure that all the students can have some tasks, and you can have time to fix the problem that you can have in the way of that. Okay, that's just a simple example about what kind of things you can do. It's just mixing and Mosaic 3D, that is like a tablet game where it's a digital content related to, for example, just a Abu temple, or just dressing of Egyptians, or just agriculture on the Nile Valley. Then even you can prepare some YouTube links that students need to read and make some infographics. And also in the way you can put it here as a corner that everybody wants to put the glasses to discover how is the pyramid inside. Then connect it with all of these. This should be the good result. Because at the end you find that the students say, hey, wow, why we don't do that all the days? Wow, and in this way I can even make the homework. And this kind of surprising answers that you discover from the students. That was we have collected from the surveys in the moment we was doing on that. And I think that is all from my side. I hope it's not worried too much. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Maya Zavides and I am a project officer at Synthesis Center for Research and Education in Cyprus. Our organization is a leading company when it comes to social entrepreneurship, but we also work on non-formal education projects for different age groups, such as the one we're doing now, our Vega project. Our organization is located in Nicosia, Cyprus, and this is our team that has expanded over the last few months. Here you can see glimpses of the city and how our offices look like. In the course of the project, we also created 10 scenarios, 5 based on VR and AR applications, on the subjects of history, biology, physics, visual arts, and geography. And for those, we tackled issues like World War II, the human musculoskeletal system, Newton's law of universal gravitation, global art, and also oceans, the water, environmental pollution, and so on. And we also created 5 scenarios to teach with computer games, with similar subjects, but also some different ones. We included English, for example, that we didn't have with the VR, mathematics. We thought for physics we could do the same. So as Cesar said, some students could work with VR and others could work with the computer games at the same time. And then also for art, we explored a bit different street art, and we also looked at chemistry, such as chemical elements, atoms, and molecules. More on the scenarios we created, I thought it would be nice to present to you two scenarios that we did with VR. The first one is history, and the second one is geography for different age groups. The one on history, we used the Save Every Breath 360 video. That is on a battle from the Second World War, and also we had the opportunity to explore Anne Frank's house. With children that were 14, 15 years old or 17, 18. And we wanted for them to learn about the circumstances that led to World War II, compare the differences between World War I and World War II, and also gain some knowledge about the extent of human, monetary, and material loss that happened during World War II. And for the second learning scenario that we created, as I said, it was for a different target group, younger students, 11 to 12 years old. We used Ocean Rift on VR and National Geographic Explorer, where we learned about the oceans, the importance of water for life on Earth, different sources of environmental pollution, especially in the sea, and also to understand how different environmental problems occur. In the course of this, we also tried our scenarios in class. So we created this flyer to attract different teachers and schools that would be interested in this. And the history scenario, we tried it out firstly with teachers in Limassol, in a different city. It was nice because we had the opportunity to even though we created the scenario in Nicosia, we had the opportunity to try it out in different cities. So our Vega project traveled around Cyprus. And the teachers mentioned that they really felt like they were in Anne Frank's house, so they had the experience themselves. And they could even understand better what people went through at the time, and especially Anne Frank. And when it comes to the second scenario, the one about geography, we went to a school in Larnaca, to the Aradipu Secondary School, and the students were really impressed because they had the chance to swim with dolphins and whales. They felt the animals coming towards them. And then we also had a talk about environmental pollution. They were impressed by how alive everything looks, and they were fascinated with that. They said that they could be learning all day with the VR. And I wanted to share also some of the next meetings and the next pilotings that we have. We will do this in another 3 schools. This will be in Nicosia, at Pascal Grammar School, and at a private institute that showed interest as well. And also some lessons learned that we had during this piloting with the schools. And maybe you also will have or had the same experience when you tried the VR. So firstly, something that was important to mention, when we wear the VR headsets, our brain perceives that we're moving when we're actually not. So sometimes the children could feel some motion sickness. So just take your time to adjust with it and don't move too quickly at the beginning. Another thing that was important was to explain the controllers and everything before they were putting the VR headset on, because they were very excited. They were putting it on immediately, so then they didn't know how to move. So yes, also explain the controllers from the beginning. Clarify what the goal of the game is and what they will learn. That will also make everyone more excited about the learning process. And the last few things that we learned is that it's important to be flexible also in terms of the teaching process and adjust to the needs of the teacher. And when needed, cut some stuff or add some different stuff to the scenario so that the teachers and the students are also engaged. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the team from Smesbybøl School. Unfortunately, Anna can't be here today. But otherwise, we have, I don't know, Roger is sitting somewhere. There is Roger. Without his help, we wouldn't have done anything. Thank you very much, Roger. So we are the teachers. This is Nina and Mikael. And this picture to the left is from the meeting in Blue Beehives. And there's Roger playing. These are the scenarios we were planning and developing. The games are similar to the other partners, but some might be different. Nina and I was working, for example, with the music apps. In VR, we were using Beat Saber, a very popular VR game. And also on iPads, we were using a Big Air app, which you will see later. So these are the different kind of scenarios.
Thank you, Nette. My name is Mikael Alsten. I'm a teacher in Smesbybøl. At the moment, I teach grade 2, but I also meet the 6th graders once a week with some physical education. So a lot has been said already about the project, but I would like to rewind the tape a bit back to 2020. At that time, I was teaching 6th grade and had a group of students who were into video games, like really into video games, not that much into school. And so the major question for me popped up when we started the Vega project. Can we use games and VR in school to make it more interesting and fun for the students? Well, we asked the students what they thought about the idea. Will games help them learn? And these are some of the things that they said. They could learn languages, mostly English, I guess. Communication skills, talking to other people in games, maths, and logical thinking. So, 2 years later, we're standing here, and what have we learned? Well, the kids were excited and were certainly achieved. They certainly had the wow effect that we've been talking about when they put on the VR glasses. Comments they had after playing or while playing, it's like, this is fun. It's a whole new world. And hey, I read about this place. So they connect the things they see in the VR world with the things they read about. So lots of fun. But if you want to get started with all this, our advice is to begin with a free-to-play web-based game like Magis and take it from there. Start with something easy. Secondly, to buy games and licenses, you need a credit card. So you need to investigate if your organization can arrange that type of payment method. Also, when using VR, you need more preparation before taking the classes to the classroom. For instance, save time for solving issues with registration of accounts and payments for licenses. We basically solve this for you, so you're welcome. Our last advice is to go for a few but good quality VR glasses. like the Oculus Quest that you are about to test after a while, or the more stationary Valve Index. For that you also need a gaming computer. Simply because the students will get the best experience that way, and they get the so-called wow effect. Our scenarios are designed to work with big groups, so that the students that are not using the VR glasses are busy with other meaningful activities connected to the topic. To sum it all up, I personally think that this is all great. So give it a try. Over to you, Nina.
Hello? Okay. Hello, can you hear me? No.
It's a delay.
Okay, I'm a teacher in semester Böle, and when I was asked to join this project, I knew absolutely nothing about VR and AR and GBL. My experience of gaming was that I had played Candy Crush. And so when I got my first assignment to create the logo for this project, I had to Google VR goggles to know what it was. And afterward, I realized that you need hand controllers when you wear them. So, but I can ensure that Stella Vega, she has hand controls. She just holds her hands so low so you can't see them. That was my starting point, but it didn't take long after my first acquaintance to the tools that I saw the possibilities what this could bring to school and to lessons. And apps and games that we have used for our teaching scenarios are different from each other, but that they all have in common that they engage the students, they add value to the lessons, and I believe, and we believe, increase learning. And just to mention the music scenarios that Nete already told you about, Big Air app is an excellent app to learn and understand music. The students can train and develop their relative pitch and note values, they can compose music, and above all, it's a lot about ear training in a really, really funny way. And the second one is Beat Saber, a VR rhythm game where the goal is to slash the beats in right direction with the right saber and to music. And all the music is composed to fit the handmade level. And this is very triggering. You can't quit when you start because you want to improve your skills all the time. And these both are a good way to motivate the students for music theory. Pulse, tempo, note values, and rhythm. And there is where I started and where I have landed now. And I just wanted to tell you this because you don't need a lot of knowledge and experience to start using these tools. The only thing you need is curiosity and the will to try. Thank you.
Thank you, my great team. And now over to Santeri and Mikael. Welcome.
Yeah, I take this, and Mikaela might want to use the Madonna one, or how do I want to do it?
We can do Spanish.
Yes, hey, thank you all. Thank you for the team already so far. We are last but not least. Hopefully we don't say anything silly. Try to summarize a bit and tell you a bit about the background that we have. Maybe a bit about ourselves. So my name is Santeri Koivisto.
And my name is Mikael Pusmeka.
And around 2011, I was in Joensuu studying to become a teacher, and you were in Tampere studying to become a teacher.
An English teacher.
Yes, and I was a classroom teacher, and I started a bit of a business in Joensuu, and Mikael were working on the research, and our paths crossed, and 20,000 schools around the world later, we were building this Minecraft EDU platform at the time. It was acquired by Microsoft, then we were building a new one, and learned a lot during that 10-year process. Now it's rush years for both of us, a couple of small kids in each family, and now I work as the head of international affairs and education export at the Southeastern Finland University of Applied Sciences, and
I work as the head of digital learning at Laureate University of Applied Sciences.
so maybe one day we'll go back to do some more games.
But this is where we kind of started. We kind of rolled back from studying at the university. So that is, so how did you get started with games?
You can see here, I got my first computer when I was 7, and ever since I've been playing video games.
And on the other side, you can see me, and the back of my head, you can see my sister and my brother and my father. We're playing a game called Commander Keen. This is probably 1992, I want to say, because my smallest brother is missing from the picture.
So this year you are celebrating your 30th year anniversary with video games.
Yeah, I would like to think that. But yeah, games have always been a part of our lives. They have been partly our careers as well. So at the peak, we worked with close to 40 game studios, and like somebody said, tens of thousands of schools. But now we're doing something different, but the pedagogy around games is something that's followed us throughout our careers. But today, we kind of want to focus on the Vega project and the pedagogy on the pedagogy behind using games in classrooms. And before we get to the actual lesson plans, we kind of want to talk about why games and learning fit together so well.
Yeah. So you understand the basics. So we'll start with what actually makes games effective. Then we sort of look into a couple examples based on complexity, something very simple and where you might want to consider using that, and also something that is very complex and where that might actually fit. And then of course, touch a bit on the didactics on how to build a lesson, and then finally, of course, a few follow-ups to what to do next maybe.
But if you feel like you want to skip ahead, there's a TLDR. There's a typo there. So if you now feel like if you're remotely there, want to take a break, that's the kind of essence of our presentation. But before we jump to the learning part, we need to understand something about games. So quickly, game mechanics might be a familiar term to some of us, but they are essentially the verbs of video games. So what you do in each game. And they kind of make up, if you take out the graphics, if you take out everything, the sounds, this is what you're left with. So the game mechanics, what do you do? There's a very simple game. Do you remember the name of the game?
No.
Me neither. But we had this on our mobile phones about 5 years ago. The mechanics are fairly simple. You use your 2 thumbs to jump on the sides of the trees. Whenever you do, it chops a block, but you need to avoid the obstacles that are coming at you from above. So the mechanics of the game is switching the sides of the tree to chop it down.
And of course you get points, and then when you get enough points, there's a bit of a meta game that you can use those points to get a better saw or better axe or something like that. Or just have a high score to compete with your friends.
Or change the outlook of your character. But basically, if you strip all of that down, that's the game mechanics. And we're going to look at different kind of game mechanics today. So before we...
Vega people are not allowed to answer the next question.
Yes. Everyone we know here needs to shut up for the next 5 minutes. So there's one game, so we're going to challenge you to look at some of the game mechanics. So game mechanics are kind of the key to also understanding the learning process in games. So if you understand what you're doing in the game, you just might have a clue to what you're also going to be learning.
It's the interaction that demonstrates that your student is actually doing and learning and using what they have learned to master the game in a way. That when you see that the student is having the interaction that makes the game, run and they achieve well in the game, you know that they are picking the content, what the game is about to teach, also to their head. But
we're going to take a look at a video, and when you feel like you know what the game is teaching, raise your hand.
Or just shout, what the game is teaching.
Let's see if I press, does it play? Yes.
And this is one of the most popular and most effective research-based, most effective games in its category. These are the early levels, but this would be the stuff that you would be looking at when you would be testing the game and considering it for your class.
Physics.
Well, you could argue there are physics involved.
Yeah. Now there's a tip.
Fractions. Someone in the chat said.
Okay, great. That's the right answer. Now, there has been research done in Canada. This is indeed called slice fractions, the game. And it is meant for, in Canada, originally built for third grade students being introduced to fractions. And after 3 hours of playing the game, the students in a pre-post test have been achieving as high as the fourth graders when it comes to fractions. So this is actually a very powerful game. But now I think this is a great demonstration of actually how hard it might be to read if you're not a gamer, like how the game mechanics work and what it might teach to you.
And also why we have been doing this project, to help people get started with the games if you're not a gamer.
Yes, so but ask your students, first tip, like what games could we use?
Yeah, exactly. But we have been doing some research on our own as well.
Yes, so this is a small glimpse for one research paper that we organized, and this was actually inspired by one teacher from Vantaa, close to Helsinki, if you didn't know. And what they were doing there, when we basically introduced her to Minecraft and she got up to speed, we were suggesting to use some lessons for her appropriate age grade. And she was just saying, I'm not really interested. I just want to have once or twice a month an hour when the kids play Minecraft. So I'm not really interested in anything else. And why she wanted to do that was that she wanted that every child in the class would have at least one day when they would be excited to come to school. And what she reported to us was that as a whole improved the attitudes towards learning and school as a whole. And that's why when we have been doing our research, we have always wanted to ask the student that, like before and after, what is your attitude towards the subject that we are learning in general? And always the result has been that the students are more interested in the topic just by experience a bit of that game, although they don't necessarily even know that the game is related to that topic. But I would say that the minimum viable way of using games in school is to just maybe take 1 or 2 lessons of your month, play something that maybe your friend or colleague suggests, invest that 45 minutes, and you might see a positive change across your student and class behavior.
But we are of course more ambitious than that. So that's the next part. So if we actually want to go and understand the game mechanics and how they link to learning, we're going to move forward. But if you're happy with this, you feel free to take a coffee break now. So, like we started, this is the simple stage of game mechanics. So it's basically changing the side of the tree to chop it down with your 2 thumbs. But if you move forward to games, some of you might recognize the game we're using here, but if you're not using brand names, any kind of team-based shooter games, they require much more coordination. So the game mechanic itself requires you to move the character around with your mouse and your keyboard or your controller. It also requires you to look at the map on the side of the screen. It requires you to look at the number of ammo you have. Between the rounds, you have to take into account the money you have to purchase equipment. You need to be sure about the target you have as a team. In this game, you're playing as the terrorists or counter-terrorists.
Yes. Yeah. But who of you could guess that this is actually one of the best games out there to teach soft skills to your students, and one of the most challenging students you might have. So some research that has been done and work that has been done in Denmark is that they have an after-school club of CSGO, like where people are, basically playing a shooter game. And students have been coming into that after school and they were asked that, okay, what is this game about? Well, it's a game about shooting other people into the face. Okay, well, not necessarily something that you want to engage in school. But they came up with this idea that there has like a between schools competition, and they were practicing their CS:GO team to be good in the competition. And after a few weeks, first the students came in with their energy drinks and their candy, they were cursing, all that, it didn't go very well. But when things started to move forward, what happened, students were drinking water, eating fruit, cut the cursing and everything. And when the researchers once more asked the students, like, what is this game about? How do you win this game? It is a game about as effective communications as possible. And the whole experience shifted for the students.
And this is, as you know, it's not just a separated incident in Denmark where there are crazy little kids play shooter games in schools. After-school programs involving esports they've been a trend for the last 5 years and a big business as well. And there's a reason why that happens next to schools. It works like professional sports as well. There's no immediate connection, but all of those require teamwork, coordination, strategy, you name it. And also kind of rigor to stick to a training plan, because to be good at these kind of games, you really have to train.
And CSGO is one of the best and most played esports games out there, and it's also one of the easier ones to follow. If you check the next slide, here's another very popular esports game, StarCraft 2. And with a layman eye, there is like no clue what's going on. But it's an extremely complex strategy game with different mechanics, rock, paper, scissors type unit mechanics and all that. So like it requires a lot of multitasking for the student and like a really deep learning curve in order to compete in something like this. But of course it's exciting for the students.
It is. But just to give you an idea, we start with a game with changing the side of the tree to cutting it down to a chaos like this. So now that we are experts, all of us, we are experts now on what the different kind of game mechanics in games, we're going to move to what the hell do they have to do with learning. So we're going to start off easy. Some teachers in the audience might recognize what this game is teaching. So raise your hand if you know what this game is teaching. Yeah, thank you. So we start with the easy end. The mechanics are simple, but so are the learning goals here. But if we move forward, this is a game called Papers, Please. In this game, you're playing as the official on the border of an imaginary country.
Imagine yourself now being on the border towards east.
Yeah, exactly. And you're stamping people who are coming to the country. You're either refusing their entry to the country or you're accepting them.
Yeah, and your only game mechanic here, the only interaction is to either press red, stamp denied, or stamp approved. But it gets constantly more complicated, more documents, more visas, different documents are required from the travelers, and you need to verify that they are right and legit. And of course there is a meta story when there is like a conspiracy, and of course that sort of story really gets you into the game, and there's like these characters that come and ask for help. So as a border officer, do you go do the right moral choice or do you do the legally right choice? And of course these are interesting conversation points with your students.
So now instead of having the two-button mechanic, you also have the story to consider, moral choices to consider, all kind of stuff. Moving on to something else.
Yes, so this is a great example what we like with Mikael, that is very dear and close to our heart. It's a game called Bondbreaker, and we think that an ideal game for learning is when the mechanics are a representation of a real-world phenomena, and then the students play with those mechanics. So meaning that when the student masters the mechanics, you can sort of know that they are also mastering the real-life phenomena. And this game is about physics and chemistry also, where you are playing with subatomic particles, and you need to solve puzzles of how subatomic particles interact with each other so they can make chemical bonds and then perform different types of tasks and function in different ways.
And this is something we have been using in our research as well. So with this game, you can play it. It's basically kind of a puzzle game you play through, and it can be fun. But with the right help from a teacher, you get really close to actually understanding particle physics.
And maybe then finally there's a game called City Skylines that some of our partners already mentioned. Well, this is already a hyper-complex game, very detailed simulation of how to build a city. Maybe not something that works for 45 minutes, but how about you have a phenomena week where everything is connected with sustainability. And every lesson, what the students learn, they bring what they have acquired during the lesson to building their city and trying to make it as sustainable as possible. So this type of very complex simulation could be maybe a platform of where all of the information you are teaching connect to one place, to one big sort of creation that then the student can come in front of you, like we are doing here in front of the class, and explain what type of sustainable, wise choices I've done with my city.
And with all of these, as we move towards more complex games, it requires more from you as a teacher. The rewards are higher as well. You get to tackle complex phenomena that might be abstract in an ordinary setting when you read about how to do zoning in a city or how taxation works in a city and how it connects to welfare, for example. But here, when you can tackle it in the game, we get to the results that some of our partners highlighted earlier. The abstract becomes something concrete for you. Now, then there's the question of when do we use which game? If you're not a gamer, it gets harder. You probably don't. I mean, we don't. I mean, we're gamers since like being 5, and we don't have time to play video games. Fortunately, my son is now turning 6, so we have a Nintendo Switch, and we are actually playing together. But the past couple of years, we haven't really had the time to play. So I guess that would be reality for many teachers. So we are trying to help with this project and everything else. We are trying to help with that. So if we start with games like these, this is easy. You know when to use this. This is basically a game you can leave your students with and get a cup of coffee. You know what they are doing, you know what they are learning, right? But if we get to these games, okay, they're still probably going to be learning something. It says hydrogen bond at the top of the screen, so your kids will probably have an idea what they are learning. But it requires, probably to be effective, it requires more from you as a teacher. So here you need to know what you're going to be teaching. The game gives you clues, but it's not immediately probably clear what's happening. Now, when we get to games like City Skylines, this is basically what we call sandbox games. So literally a sandbox, you can, like in a real sandbox, you can do whatever. You can dig holes, or you can build castles, or track for driving with a toy car. So with City Skylines, we're dealing with a similar situation. You can do whatever, and that's the power and the challenge. So when we use games like these in a formal setting, like a classroom or an afternoon club, it requires us to create some kind of a form, some kind of structure to support the learning.
So at the very beginning, it's more about the grind and just practicing a skill, so you know how to multiply and recap. Then you are understanding a simple mechanic from the nature, for example, and here you are understanding like very complex phenomena. We are running out of time, but we have a couple of things for you.
Still have a couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes, yeah. Great. So now a few pointers of how to get the best out of the games, at least from our point of view. So of course, students, especially in older ages, they want to know why we are all of a sudden quitting the books and the other things and going to metaverse. It might not be clear, so you might want to have some sort of a task and goal in mind, what you are actually trying to achieve. And many times what we recommend is to just have some sort of a support material, or at least ask the students to take notes while they are playing. So there would be this bit of a processing going on while they are in the world doing what they are doing. And of course, be available during the gameplay, and most importantly, and this is something that has been considered more or less binary, whether students pick something up and connect that to what you're trying to teach and learn, or not getting anything, is to debrief. So it's really important that whatever happens in the game, how successful it is, it might be a complete disaster, so what? But the learning comes when you actually talk with your students and connect the dots between what happened in the game and what we are actually trying to achieve.
And if you look at the examples we had, the more complex the game, more abstract the topic, the more debriefing you need, more connecting the dots. And that's where we as teachers come in. And it's probably very clear for us as teachers the role that reflection is playing in learning process.
So a couple of very practical advices. My personal experience, 2 students per 1 computer, 1 playing, 1 observing and connecting the dots is a good setup, or 3 students where two are playing and one is sort of the role who is sort of observing, maybe coordinating a bit, is a good setup where everybody has a role and something to do. If there are more people outside of the game, sometimes it's, when they are not engaged, it might be a bit of a conversation, so that one note taker might be a good one, and of course, people should rotate. But here are a couple of practical advices how you might wanna, approach games in your schools. So either you play at the beginning and you discover in the game, for example, the hydrogen bonds or the subatomic particles. And when your students have been playing for maybe 20 minutes, you close the game and you start talking, okay, what did you figure out? And you start collecting the dots and information that the students were picking up to maybe your board and connect the theoretical framework where all of the notes that were taken by your students. And then of course, sort of, if needed, more debrief that a bit. But I think that this is a really exciting way of approaching this, especially when your students are a bit savvy already with using video games at school.
Now, for the learning sciences, the audience, we're talking about inductive learning and deductive learning.
Yes. And then the second one might be that you introduce, maybe for City Skylines, for example, as your phenomena-based week, it might be that you are discussing sustainable energy production. And then you have that discussion for maybe 15 minutes or however that might, or for a full class. And then your students go to the game and they apply what you have just taught them into the game. But of course, now it is very important that you discuss with your students how did you do the implementation, how is the sustainable energy working compared to maybe other choices.
And one very important thing here is that if we are looking at theory in real world and looking at theory in the game, there will be differences. Most of the time we are not playing around with simulations, we are playing around with games that are supposed to be fun. They make something simple, they make something overly generic. So there might be differences between the real world. That doesn't necessarily have to be a problem though. What we can do, learning might be about pointing out those differences. So the task for the student can be, so how is this different from real life? Many of you know Minecraft as a game, it's been close to our heart for years. So one of the issues with Minecraft was that, if you chop down a tree in Minecraft, many of you know that it doesn't fall down, it falls in the air. So, of course you can teach physics with a game like that.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
We don't need to go there, but yes, you can.
But you can. So the goal is that you point out the differences. So what would happen in the real life? Your task might be to actually spot the differences. But that's an important part of the debriefing here, that you compare what happens in the game with the real life, so connecting the dots.
And as a pointer, this sort of thinking with sort of the theory play or discovery play and debrief is sort of the foundation for how our scenarios were also put together. So while following our scenarios, you will sort of naturally do what we are suggesting you to do here. Of course, when you get going, you might discover something that works better for you. And maybe we don't go here, but I think this is something that you will get the presentation. So, anyways, thank you very much.
Take a look at the publication, take a look at the lesson.
Thank you very much, Sandra and Mikael. And I think that you understand now why I felt like I did after listening to these guys in Tampere. They really convinced me that this is something we should do at schools. And now I hope that you also do. So I will thank you all for attending this multiplier event here. Refreshments are waiting in the cafeteria, and then after that you are able to try out all these fun games, both in VR and computer games. The group in MODIM, Modern Method, Digital Methods in Korsholm, those teachers will guide you into the games, and we will also help you if needed, if you struggle with something. I thank you all once again for coming here, and thank you, my super great team, for your presentations today. Thank you.